As you can see here, you gotta be really careful when taking out this one bolt. See that bolt there? And be real careful. Get too carried away. This is what happens. You'll whack your transmission and you'll break everything. And then you'll just have to replace the whole transmission. Let this be a lesson. Yeah, we're there. I destroyed it. To the sky. Hey guys, it's the Atari bot. And guess what? We have ourselves broken down HHR and a new jack. The other jack kind of gave up. Had to relocate it a little bit. BMW still there. Still got the Durango still running. This HHR. Or HHR. Let me go over the plan here. We're going to use these Harbor Freight jacks to fold up the HHR. We're going to lower the engine cradle while supporting the engine with an engine stand up here across the fenders. And then from underneath, we're going to pull the transmission out this wheel well. That's the plan. I see a squatted HHR out there. I don't know. Yeah, we're jacking it up to the sky. This is what. Alright, so here's our engine holder upper. That's the technical term for this. It's the engine holder upper. We're going to remove this plastic piece here. So you just got to get, take these off. And I think I'm going to see if it kind of just hinges. So it might be like a couple 10 millimeters back there. Make it easier. And hopefully, like I say, the plan is we're going to remove this engine cradle and this chain is going to come right out the side. It's just easy peasy. But will it? Dun dun dun. As you can see here, you got to be really careful when taking out this one bolt. See that bolt there? And be real careful. Get too carried away. This is what happens. You'll whack your transmission and you'll break everything. And then you'll just have to replace the whole transmission. Let this be a lesson. See there? I destroyed it. Okay, so yeah, no, I'm just kidding. This is actually where something came out off the road and hit the transmission and destroyed it. And that's why we're replacing the transmission. That's the spot. That is the spot. See if we can get that. I don't have to do it by hand. Some things I do by hand. It's in a really tight spot. I mean, the socket just barely went on it. And that's because of the damage. I mean, it's already in a tight spot. But the damage made it a lot tighter. Whew. It's sharp too. I don't want to cut my fingers. I don't want to cut my fingers on it. So you can see we lost a little fluid here when this happened. So you might imagine having a big hole on the side of where your oil pan attaches will kind of do that. Alright. Moving right along. Still gotta put that on. This is where we're at so far. Oh, those things are real fun. You can see taking out this bolt here, and we're going to slide that down. I'm going to take out the engine cradle bolts. There's only 4 of them. And there's some other bolts holding some stuff up here. Other than that, these lower control arms, this is going to get disconnected, but I might just leave them on the frame here. Alright, we got to take off this bracket here. See if I can show you. Be this bolt here, this bolt here, this bolt here, and this bolt here. And then also, if you can see way up by that water pipe up there, like right in. Right here is a bolt. You can barely see it under this long tube here. This is for the water pump. But underneath there's this little bolt. I'm going to run an extension back there to get that off with the transmission as well. We're going to do our speed sensor there. We've already taken out the bolts for the power steering rack. I'm going to take out some more. Probably going to take out these upper. Can't really see them from this angle. Or maybe you can. This bolt here and the other one across. May end up taking those out. We'll see. Still haven't taken the cradle out. And I'm looking like I've got the front motor mount up here loose. This front motor mount's loose, and this back motor mount's, well, it's loose off the tranny. It's still connected to the frame here. So I may take that loose. But for now, it seems like it hangs on those 2 motor mounts really nice. And I could probably get away with removing this subframe without using the engine support bar. But I want to be on the safe side and use the engine support bar to hold the engine up while I remove the subframe and the transmission. Just to give me a little extra holding, because if either one of these motor mounts go, then things could not go so well. I don't want to fight anything. I want to make everything as easy and smooth as possible. Maybe it's smoother and easier without the engine support, but like I say, it's a matter of safety too. So. subframe. It's our old low control arm and stuff. I have to say the cop car suspension's holding up pretty good. Look at all this access. Look it up. No problem. The only thing we still have to do is remove these motor mount bolts up here. So yeah, you have to have an engine support to do that this way for sure. Because once that's out of the way, there's nothing holding your engine up. And you only have this back one here, so what I'm thinking is I'm gonna find another support or bolt hole here and make it so that I have an extra chain holding this up over here, so we don't pivot, twist around everywhere. Same with the other side. I probably will. Well, it's probably good with the motor mount and that. That's probably okay. Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and remove the rest of that motor mount there as well. When we get to this one, I'm not going to remove this stuff. I'm just going to work under it. You can barely see the bolts, but you can get underneath this thing. The whole fuse panel thing. And you can get to those bolts down there. You just have to work your hand around. Anyway, this plug up here, it goes in that socket there. It came out of here. The trick was, I guess, is that little side holders on it. And you look at the top, the bottom have these little grab points. You want to just squeeze them so that it does that. And all I did was I squeezed it and wiggled it. I squeezed it and wiggled it, and it came right out. It was no fight involved. Just thought there would be a fight, but no. Pull this safety thing out, and it kind of slides diagonally. I'm suspecting from the top that It pulled right out. There you go. Alright, just slides off. Alright. So that plug comes out like that. Not hard. Not far, people. Be coming down shortly. Anything in between there? I don't see nothing. Alright. Let's go! Starter bolt is definitely hidden up in there. Here's what I've disconnected the battery. I'm not disconnecting all the cables. I'm just gonna let it hang gently by these cables. And I'm just taking out the mounting bolts. Like I said, this is only so that I can get access to the flywheel bolts. It's the only reason we're taking out the starter. The only reason. Side bolts are out. It's just a miracle that the oil pan didn't get hit. I'd rather that the oil pan was hit though. I'd rather replace an oil pan than have to replace a transmission. But whatever. Stuff happens. Sure looks cool without the subframe. It's a lot easier to get to everything. That subframe wasn't hard to get out. It's pretty easy. So you're going to see if we can turn this, get these flywheel bolts out, get something on the crank, turn the crank and get to the flywheel bolts that way. So yeah, what you want to do is turn your crank clockwise. You can see I've turned it and got that bolt to line up. And that bolt attaches to your flywheel. You have to take those out to get the transmission to come apart. Otherwise, it's just not. You'll end up leaving your torque converter on here. And you don't want to have to fight to get around that too. You know, you only have so much frame clearance to pull out this transmission. So you definitely want to get these bolts taken out now before you start separating the transmission from the engine. Also, I still got to take those lines off. But the reason I wait until like the last minute to do that is because I know I'm going to lose some fluid. It's just messy. So I do everything else, then I get my pan here, and then I take those off and get things situated because we're going to lose more fluid. It's just going to be messy. Yep. That's the way you get your flywheel bolts. Let me show you draw this part out. But this is the salvage yard transmission we're going to be putting in. And you can see, you know, your bolts come right up to the edge of this flywheel. And that's where our starter goes. So yeah, it's going to go with the transmission if you've gotten all your bolts out. I don't know if I got that one out. I'm going to go back and look now. I think I've gotten that one, but I don't know if I got that one. If you have any thoughts about for sure where any of your bolts are, you can always go look at your salvage yard transmission and be like, oh yeah, there's where all the bolts go. Let's hope everything's good. I'm gonna keep my torque converter. Got all the flywheel bolts out of our transmission here, and I did go ahead and move this over. There were two 10mm bolts over here and a couple 13mm on the sides, and that whole plastic thing gets up and out of your way. And I didn't unhook any electrical, I just kind of shifted things around a little bit, and that's about as high as I might get it. But as you can see, I got the transmission mount bolts down here. I got one left, so we're gonna get the jack in position. Let's do this. There it is. Believe it or not, we are loose. The motor mount bolts. So yeah, you squeeze those little tabs and that comes right up. And this part, probably just yank it off. Yeah, it came off. Yeah, that's it. Let's see what happens when we lower the jack. If we did everything halfway correct, something good should happen here. So let's get this tranny down. Let's see what happens. Let's try that again. Oh, I heard something go crunch. What was it? Alright, let's try it some more. Oh, movement occurred. Did it separate some? It did not. Well, we still got our training lines there. Alright, let's just disconnect those training lines. I almost forgot what I did. But I remembered. Not as bad as the font. Nope. Wow. Got a good bit of space made here. Maybe I'm gonna go around and see, make sure I got all the bolts out. I thought I got them all, but as you can see, it's really hard to see around all these wires and hoses and crap that's kind of in your way. Yeah, we're jacking it up to the sky. This is what's called HHR looks like if you're high. I went ahead and unplugged the starter here and got that out of my way because I had missed one bolt, and that's this right here. It's just above the starter. I want to get that out. But that was my last 18mm I needed to take out, and the transmission started to come apart all on its own. And this is where my balance point is. It keeps the transmission to where it leans slightly into the engine. We've got our lines disconnected, all our electrical stuff unhooked, disconnected the linkage, just pops off. We squeeze that piece with some needle nose up there to get that out of the holder. Alright, so let's do this. Let's lower it. Here we go. Make sure my cable's out of the way. Oh crap. Oh, it ain't going. It ain't gonna fall. It might not. Oh, hey, look at that. It's the torque converter. Hello, torque converter. Oh man, why is it sitting like that? Holy monkey balls. Alright. Oh. Alright, we're down. We're out. That's it. That's where our damage. I don't know. Yeah. This is where the main damage is. But you can see here, like it hit so hard here, it like pulled the pan down over here. It was leaking over there too. Crazy. It's a good looking tranny too. The one I'm putting in from the junkyard looks like it's been sitting in a swamp. I don't know. It's not that bad. Not that great. Not that bad. There it is. Look at that. It's a mess. It's a mess. It's out. It's my mess. .360 view. Can I just pull that out? Might as well, right? It's right there. What's inside? Oh yeah, look at that. Some transmission in there. Let's break it some more. It's empty. I got dirty hands. I can't grab a camera. Oh. There it is. Without the tranny. This was just left hanging. So the rear motor mount. I could actually. Oh, it's attached to something. I shouldn't be pulling on those cables. Yeah, might leave that there. Good time to do your water pump. Look at that. Okay. I already did the water pump. We did that water pump during the head job. This whole motor's been It'd been easier to pull this motor out in hindsight, but that's how we did it. You watched the video, we did it in the driveway. Anyway, still looks pretty good. Whoa. Still got this, I think it's still got a twisted exhaust cam. Other than that, one day I'm going to address that. Because I always say I'm going to put some hotter cams in it. It's twisted enough to throw the code. This is back cam back here. Can't be that bad to change out. But, you know, it's like I already did the head job. I went through the whole head job just to find out that that was twisted too. And I didn't know that part of it. Like I say, I just run it anyway. It's a 4-banger. Unless we stick a turbo on it, then we're going to put them hotter cams. Since we have this ported and polished head with a twisted cam in there. Doesn't really help boost the performance much with the twisted cam. Anyway. This is our sad replacement. I'm gonna say it looks like it came out of a swamp when you look at the old one compared to the new one. The new one came out of a swamp, right? I think it very well could have been a flood car or something. One thing that I find curious is the top of this one says R24. And the top of this tranny says B15. But they came out of the same year model, same engine. I don't know what the difference is. But he did have racing stripes on that HHR, so it makes me a little worried. Alright, so I guess we're going to get this booger cleaned up, get it in position. Wait for that car to go by. So here's the plan. Here's what we have going on. Our engine's supported by our engine support bar, and this is our hole point, which Jay is over here. There is a lot of tension on these chains. Okay, and we also have a motor mount still in place over here. On this side we have a very taut tension chain here coming off of this, and then next to it more of a safety feature. I didn't know how taut this would get. Something happened here, I don't know. I could redo that. Anyway, the idea is that I could just keep it like that too, and lower this to get a better angle on getting my new tranny in. New to me. But first I'm gonna go to the parts store, get some new seals here for that and that. I'm gonna change that one too. It just comes right off just like that. Nice and easy. Rolled over like that, nice and easy. No fluid lost. Not that it matters. Well, that's fluid. A little bit of fluid that's in it does not look pretty. It's a little dark brownish. So, you get some new fluid, or pan fluid anyway. I'm just going to do the pan and the filter as well. And we're going to replace this main seal, this transmission main seal. Make sure you tell them transmission main seal. Otherwise you'll get an engine main seal. And there's a front and a rear one of those. You just got to get a transmission front seal. Input shaft seal. Whatever you want to call it. Torque converter seal. They call it something. Depending on where you're from and what you want to call it, it's called that. We got a new seal here. Master Pro. I don't know. It's purple, so it's got to be good, right? Didn't come with a new O-ring here. I'm just going to reuse that. I think it's fine. Put our seal puller in here. And hope for the best. Sometimes this works, sometimes it don't. Now, doesn't want to work. My seal puller's kind of wonky. It's got this thing broken on it, so sometimes that's nifty because sometimes I have to use it that way. So I don't really care. Well, that's not how it's supposed to work. See? Real easy. Real easy. Just like I said. I mean, maybe this is what you went into your tranny for. I don't know. We know why I'm in here. Oh, well, we seem to have a problem here, sir. That's where your leak's happening. Make sure you don't have any dirt in here. Make it clean. A little layer of the old fluid in there. Okay. That might help your seal slide in better. Just make sure it's clean. If nothing else, make sure it's clean. Got dirt in my noose. Specks of fluid. Pretty nice. Pretty nice. Now put shaft seals. Okay, so this piece presses into, presses onto the shaft. And then this piece goes over that piece. Now I have to take these rings off, which is why they came with these. So you can replace your locking rings. Very interesting. Alright. I've looked at it. I don't know. Just gonna get right in it and do it. I'm probably gonna regret it. 'Cause it goes, see, quicker to destroy stuff than it is to just leave it. And come back to it, but I gotta destroy it. It's the only way. kind of want to come out. Fart, that is. See, the broken tools help sometimes. I don't know why. Oh my gosh, it's a mesh. Apparently, this piece comes out too. This is the old one. It came out with, that's a seal is supposed to have stayed with the old transmission over there in the background. I don't know if you can see it, but yeah. So we got some extra parts here. Just kind of catch the outer edge up here a little bit, but you know. Look, it's pulled it. It pulls it. Pulled it right off. Right over that ring. Look at that. So now we can wipe this off. That wasn't too bad. You don't want to get any cleaner down, and you don't want to use any cleaner here because the fluid itself will attract dirt enough to wipe it out. Leftover fluid. Use it. That's your cleaner. Whatever fluid leaks out of here as you're wiping it off, that's your cleaner. Don't spray any cleaner in here. It's not good. That ain't working. That's the way you do it. I think I could just beat it off. Keep beating it till something flies off. Oh, you know what? I probably shouldn't do that because that seal rides up against there. What am I going to do? I have to get a CV axle. I hope not. Go get a CV axle. Well, no, because that's... Oh, yeah, that is where it seals. No, it's not how it seals. That's just holds against that. It'll be fine. Now, Dr. Pepper, no! Now you've done it. I think it's off. No, it's okay. I think it's almost off. Oh, there you go. That's all we needed. Because really this was what was right there. That's this. And really, like I say, this doesn't do anything. Makes no sense. Because really, this seal, sealing that like that. See, there's no fluids getting past. What I'll do is I'll put some sealer here where I press that on, and no fluid will get past that, and then this seal won't even matter. This seal's pointless. So this is going to spin on that. These are spinning together. So if you nick it here, it's not that big of a deal. Probably a little bit of silicone or something. Because like I said, these move together. They don't spin on each other. But just now, okay, yeah. Could have been nicer. Maybe you find another YouTuber out there who's nicer than I am to their parts. But so yeah, I did do a little bit of damage to the CV axle part. But like I said, the truth is, this seal, it's not a true seal. It moves with it. It doesn't move against it. It moves with it. So it's not a big deal. It's not as big of a deal. It's a little silicone or whatever you want. If you want to make sure that it's going to seal, it'll be fine. It moves with it. The part that moves against it is this. Like that'll be there, and then this will turn with it. So this part is the part that matters. And we're putting a new one of those in there. We're going to put a new one of these in there. Give it a little tappy with the wood block. To this side. Are you kidding me? This is a jack handle, by the way. That's all this is. Oh, it's perfect. I'm gonna hammer that booger. Oh, that's beautiful. Recording? Yeah, stop. It's all good. It's not the ideal way I wanted to do it. It does seem to work though. I'm just using a regular pry bar. Large pry bar, catching the back edge with it. Look at that. There we go. That came out a lot nicer. Remember, no cleaner. We just use the existing fluid. We're just wiping off the dirt. We don't want dirt in there. That's all. Just don't want dirt in there. Just make sure you get off every speck of dirt you can off of that shaft. And I'm not going to change this clip here. You're just going to make it harder to put the CV axle on. I'm sure somebody out there screaming, "Dad, your axle's going to fly off. It'll come out on you if you don't change these. If you don't change this, it just didn't do." Oh well, guess what? I didn't change them. I'm leaving it in there. I'm not going to change it. You know what? We put this in first, don't we? It's easier, I think. Here's the thing though, the block of wood's not going to fit into this one. Savon screwdriver. But the screwdriver broke off in the handle. So, what's this tool now? It now helps me put seals on. How many times that's going to happen. still go a little bit more. This was a steel brush handle I was using to clean it. But the handle's broken multiple times at this point. Now it's really just a little nub. It's not a broken tool in my I gotta throw this broken tool away. Oh, it's nifty. It was nifty for a moment. There you go. All good. Looks beautiful. Remember this? Yeah, about that. Jack handle. Make sure it's clean. Once you're gonna get it. That's beautiful. Isn't that beautiful? God. Alright. There you go. Both output shaft seals. New main seal. Now we got to put a rear main seal in to the engine because we're there. I just like to put them back on the same place they came off. We're going to do this. Rear main seal here. Part number of stuff. People like to see the stuff. I don't see a problem taking these off with an impact gun. Taking them off, I just kind of use a zigzag pattern. Taking out this last one. Okay, so that's attached. There you go. But now we can get to that rear main seal. It's a big booger, right? Screwdriver. It will work for what we gotta do here. Be real careful not to score the back side of this. Once you do get that to start to come, you don't want to tear that up. Just like that. Make sure you got something on the ground to catch your crap. All we're going to do is wipe out that little bit of extra grease there and install this new seal by tapping it in with a piece of wood. There you go, it's clean. Don't spray this with stuff. It's like somebody tried to polish this oil pan here. I don't know who did this. It's a really clean oil pan though. Whoever did it did a really good job. Be real careful when opening this. Just kidding. Alright. That's going to be the tricky part. Just getting it started. Alright. Now, I'm going to go back with the wood block. It's just got a smooth part on it there. Put it in here. Be sure you're sitting squarely on it before you start tapping it. Pretty good. I do want to go around these edges a little better. So what we'll do is we'll just go barely set on these edges like so, and go around and get them. We'll work around in circular motion. Thread all these. I want to tighten these bolts down to the proper torque. I'm not happy about it. Another trip to Harbor Freight. Another tool I'll barely use. That's okay. It's like $100. That's not $100. Am I going the right way? Should we put a gun on this? What do you think? Is this a good idea? Let's put it up to 3. They'll warranty it, right? Oh yeah, that works really good. Alright. They probably say don't do that. They probably say use only hand tools on that. Wait. People are going to do what they're going to do. I am people. See where things have to move. I didn't get the one that had all the angles and all that. I didn't realize that when I got it. The front did. But apparently it does not. That's a little more where we want to be. So basically what we're going to try to do is get some of our bolt holes to line up, get them started, all the while keep this torque converter. This is going really well, fairly well. So we're not hitting here. All this booger in. Roll the puppy. Roll the puppy. I'm going to try and get it lined up with that upper motor mount. Yeah. That big one. That's spooky close. Look at that. It's getting there. There's the hole they punch in it from the junkyard. We're going to change that pan, don't worry. This is our flywheel. This is this weird bolt that goes through our oil pan. This is where our starter goes. Through this hole here. And it's where we're going to be attaching our flywheel belts. For some reason that one doesn't. It must have got moved. I don't know how. It shouldn't matter if that moves though. It probably moved when I was tightening those bolts in the middle. Let's see if we can get this transmission. I think it's easier. I mean, you want to use the guide pins, but you have to line up those top bolts first, I think. Although this one comes really close. Just having the old transmission out, you can go back and look over at the bell housing on it to see exactly how you want to get your bolt started. But definitely don't tighten any of them down. We're just trying to get something lined up here, especially since we don't have a jack that wants to pivot things around. So we're just getting a couple bolts started. You have to come down just a hair. Just a hair. Just a hair. Oh, it wants to really go. It really does. I think we lower it some more. Maybe we have it too high. Maybe that's what we should do, is just work on getting this one lined up. And then I can kind of pivot off of that with the jack. So we'll do that. You really, I joke around a lot, but you really do want this to start by hand. And keep finagling your tranny around till it just easily goes by hand. I don't care where you have to reach around to finagle it. Keep finagling it. Good start. Because I'm still not comfortable with how many threads I have, but I can't seem to. Oh, you know what I could do too? I didn't think about it. We could lift. Okay, that's nice. Okay, but we could lift the engine a little bit. This is what we're going to try to do. So we're going to try to lift this jack up. Pivot on this one. We don't want to go up too much, so I don't want to start breaking stuff. Because we don't have a perfect angle on that bolt, as you can see. So, if I get too risky. You get the idea. Make sure your eyelets are lined up good. It's like our torque converter stayed in place. Looks like my eyelets really almost self-centered. Maybe I should try to get that bolt in too. Maybe that's the way to do it. Right, this part here is not going to be threaded all the way up on that one. So if I jack it up just a little bit, I should be able to start both of these. If I can get the tranny in a little bit more. Get it to about ½ inch away. That doesn't look like I'm doing a whole lot here. A lot going on. Alright. Keep wiggling things. Now you think it's spooky, I wiggle things with all this stuff hanging, but remember all the safety I've got going on above me to hold all this stuff in place. Don't be doing this with just the motor mount holding it, man. I do have one motor mount holding this engine, but I also hold an engine support brace on top of that. And we're on cement ground with jack stands holding our frame and everything, so I would not do this on the dirt. It was considered actually. And now I'm pulling the tranny in a little bit. We can do that. We can just pull this in little by little. Just keep going around. That's where we're at right now. We're just going to keep working it in, make sure your eyelets are good. And I'll get the other bolts in it. Most of the bolts are in it now. All but like 2, I think. And then we're going to start putting we're going to line our flywheel up with our torque converter and put those bolts back in it. But not until you put this together. That's very important that you cinch your engine and transmission together first before starting the bolts for your torque converter to your flywheel. Otherwise, you take a chance on accidentally pulling your torque converter off your transmission yoke, and it'll be a pain in the butt to get back right without just taking the whole tranny back out. Don't do it. Oh, the other thing I was thinking, see those 3 holes back here? I think I'm gonna go ahead and get this the motor mount hung up back here. You can't see it because the hose in the way. Those 3 holes. Get this tranny shifted over and get those lined up, and I can take the tranny jack out. And we can also tighten this up to here to help pull that angle up as well. But yeah, it's going together good. About cinched up. And then we'll get those once mine gets tight, we'll get those flywheel bolts. About this oil pan. I care that I want to get clean bolts. I don't want dirt falling in my eyes either while I'm doing this. There we go. I believe these are all 8mm. When you put these back on, you want to crisscross, but taking them off, not that big of a deal. But I'm going to make it so that when I take it off, if it's going to leak, it's going to go this way. So I'm going to take all these bolts out first. The last one's got to be boogered. Special unboogering wrench. I'll probably get this out of the other oil pan. You know what I don't want? Let's see. All right. Sometimes these just fall out. These just fall off. is in there. We're gonna change. Probably gonna change all this. Let's see what's in the box. Hey, we got this box. And we got this box. We're gonna see what's in the box. First, brand new tranny fan. Brand new magnet. Looks good. What do you expect? Looks good. We got premium guard. Yeah. Gasket. Ooh, nice rubber. Nice thick rubber. There's this seal. We're going to replace that. It goes. We're going to press it up in there. You could tap on this a little bit, but you know. Alright, so these are all pan our gasket. Now sometimes you'll get them where these holes are just, a few of the holes are just small enough to hold a bolt. That's not the case. Also, many of them will have this little thing that helps guide it through certain pieces. This one does not. So this one's going to be a little harder. So basically, what I might end up doing, which I don't want to do, you really want this gasket to be clean and dry. Also, the factory gasket has little metal rings to keep you from over tightening this. Unless somebody has changed it and I just happened to get a better gasket that I took off than I'm putting on. But as long as you tighten these evenly, it should be fine. You don't over squash this gasket. I'm surprised that the bolt holes are so far apart on this one. It just seems prone to leakage. But, yep, since there's no point in starting all these, what I will do is I'll start along this edge. I don't want to use silicone to hold it in place, but I mean, if you feel like you must, do what you gotta do. So I'm gonna get one bolt here. That's it, one bolt. Okay, whole gasket's all over the place, I'm aware. Okay. Okay. And we're gonna got some of this gasket back over. And just a few threads. Gently. Few threads. Okay. Now, you know those two are going through gasket. So we lay our gasket back around the other holes. That's it. Now guide up another hole. But then you want to get as far away from that hole as possible. Line up one of the further ones. Okay. See, gasket's in place in all the places we need it to be. You just go around and check, see it's loose. Okay. Just make sure your gasket's laying up there, and you can put that gasket on dry. That's the best way to do it. And just evenly torque these all to about the same amount all the way around. You should be able to feel that out by hand. Just don't, crank it down so much you're squishing the gasket. If you need a torque wrench, with real light torque, you really should be able to feel this out. I don't know what You know, you have to look up the torque spec if you want to actually do it. But you should be able to feel this out and tighten all these down evenly. Read my disclaimer in case you disagree, because I don't care. Some of these didn't actually have a bolt in them because they were the alignment tabs off the other gasket. Okay. Anyway, see this other gasket? It's alignment tab here. And then it's got these metal rings here too. This is a much nicer gasket. This one's got a steel frame in it, and I can see where if the bolts are far apart, you need the steel frame to keep this from leaking over here. This gasket doesn't have any steel frame, so eventually as they get squished here, they're going to start seeping out fluid out the edges. That's my theory. All we're doing is getting them started. All we're doing is getting them started. I'm not running any of them down. We're going to. I'll show you how I'm going to do it. I'm not saying it's the way you should do it. This is how I'm going to do it. You're not doing it right. You should look stuff up. I've looked stuff up all my life, people. It's time to visit the other transmission for a minute. Okay. Take your gun all the way down to 1 and barely till the trigger. Okay, I mean it. Don't put you some power behind this, just barely touch it and zigzag around. Barely 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 barely. Alright, now the proper torque spec on this is one weenie sized grunt, okay? And you want to zigzag around. Okay. You want to start out just snugging these down a little bit more than what you put them on with the drill. Just go around, snug them down to where they feel like, okay, that's a nice hand tight feel to it. At this point, zigzagging around is not that big of a deal once you start snugging them down. So just go around tightening them down. That feels pretty good right about there. Just remember, you're squishing this gasket on this particular type of gasket. Don't use, you know, typical torque specs aren't going to be right when they don't give you the gasket that's going to torque spec. So I say you should do this by hand. But hey, read my disclaimer. Don't listen to anything I say. Let's give it a little snug. Give it a little snugging. Don't crank on it. They're little bitty bolts. Going into aluminum. Just give them a little snugging. A little bitty snogging. A little snogging. That feels pretty good. Alright. Yep, sounds like a tranny. This is what I used to get to that top bolt. There's one of them. That one is a little easier to get to, but the one this way, get the subframe, and a couple things here. Go back under there. Really, I just want to get these started because there's a lot of other things to hook up here still. Just want them to catch. We're hitting our motor mount. Oh, I'm at max. We better figure this out. That didn't sound good. This is your cradle bolt here. If you look inside of here, you see that there's a little block. It's kind of loose. So you just want to get this started. That. And see, now I can hang it on these front ones for the time being, but I still have to tighten these up. I'm gonna let these back down. Ooh, these aren't actually started, so we'll get these started back here. But the train jack's got some more lift on it. You can finagle it here. Why do I use the socket, not just spin the bolt by hand? Sometimes it just feels nicer to hold the socket and spin that. I'm not going to tighten these all the way down. I just want a bunch of threads to hold it up. Well, that didn't catch at all. Let me see the other side caught. No. Wow. Fooled me. I thought I was going into something. Yeah, they're right up there. Alright, try this again. I got pressure up on against the bolts, and the way these bolts have the head on them, you can get away with this. I don't recommend it though. You probably should do this by hand. Now let's see if we can take the jack out. That's more like it. I just gotta get our motor mounts tightened up. Oh, another thing too. If you took this motor mount out, make sure you put that back in first before putting in your subframe. Be a lot easier. Got this thing just swinging loose so I can put our CV axle in still. And then we'll put this back in. But I just wanted to say that, you know, there's these little locking rings here on these CV axles. If you turn them toward the bottom, like so, it makes them a little easier to slide on. And you just want to give it a good shove to get it to lock in. And that's it. The other part you can pull this back, slide the other part in, put your nut on, you're all good. Make sure you're torquing up properly. So same thing. Got our CV axle. We'll make sure our ring, give it a little spin here. Make sure that the opening on the ring is on the bottom, because it just makes it a lot easier. It makes it a whole lot easier to put these in. And then get a nice angle on it, get it started. Must be. Alright. And then we're going to pull this back a little bit. I won't go too far because I did not disconnect the brake line up there. Just going to slide this back over and put in our lower control arm bolt at the same time. I don't know if you can see. Our CV axle in. So now we're going to put our lower control arm down here. There's a hole here. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Just wiggle it around a little bit. Notice I'm not tapping on the joint itself. There it goes. It was right there. It was right there. I'll go around and tighten everything. I couldn't really hold the camera and do this at the same time, but when you're putting these 3 bolts in on the radiator supports, just kind of hold your radiator up while you get all of these bolts started first, then come back and run them in with an impact or whatever you want to do. Snug them down by hand, gently, with the baby's hand. Be careful when you're putting this subframe back up, because you could pinch this power steering rack over here and around that piece. You can get pinched up between the frame there. Yeah, we're just tightening. Also, I hope you left that motor mount up there. You didn't leave it hanging. You're gonna have, I don't know how you're gonna get it in. But yeah, if you left it hanging back here, that's one of the last things you'll have to do. So right now, that's all I have to do is put that motor mount on. This one's already went on, no problems. Everything here is good. Start out by putting the bolts to your motor mount in, to the ones that go to the tranny. You have to finagle it a little bit. That's why I say don't put those bolts in yet. Real tricky getting this one started. Might have been helpful to leave the power steering rack loose on this bottom, because it's like right up against the rack just to get it started. I don't know if you can see it. It's going. We get all these bolts started a good bit. I'm gonna start this one until it clears the power steering rack a little better. But I'm gonna leave it loose. I do this with many parts. I get bolts all started all the way around. And then I go back and I tighten them down. Oftentimes it's lining up gaskets and stuff like that, though, that's not a concern. That went in good. Ooh, this other one's tricky to get to. I have to come into the wheel. That's what it did. This back motor mount is just no fun. Like I said, if you keep everything loose, you can kind of finagle it, though. Move things around a little bit. Using the handle of my hammer to kind of wedge it a little bit, because it's wood and I can't hurt anything with wood. Got like one thread started. I've got all those bolts run down pretty good, but I'm not going to tighten them yet because I want to put these in there. In case I need to finagle it around a little bit, I want to keep a little bit of wiggle room. That's what they call it. So far though, they seem to start pretty good. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and tighten down my motor mount bolts. Then we'll tighten this down to this. I'm using the Flex Head gear wrench 18 here. It's working pretty good. I'm almost there. Oh, it looks like it's going to pour down rain on me, but we're almost there. Not too worried about these. So they're going to twist a little bit to torque themselves. So. There you go. They're good. Bring it down now. Sounds empty. Give it a good slap. A trick. Put your knee down. Put your knee down in front of the car. Trick. Oh God, don't use the impact. My car. Torque them to 100 foot-pounds. Or don't. I don't care. Pretty much fine. Can't play tug of war with the pine cone. It doesn't work. Okay. You can rip it apart if you want. Gotta get the pine nuts out of there. They are in